Hello, and welcome to another episode of Triumph TV. I am Triumph Mbiba. This is a platform where we share our stories to evoke hope. And I just want to say, first of all, Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there, be it you're a biological mother, a caregiver, or just a role model that others look up to. I just want to say to you, salute, you are appreciated, and Happy Mother's Day. For some reasons, on this Mother's Day, something spiked my curiosity: the need for mother and child forgiveness. This is my personal story, or rather, a testimony of my own upbringing and the relationship that I had with my mom that was not so good. I was raised by my grandparents, and growing up, this is the stories that they share with me, or what I was told happened. That my mother's family came to my father's family to try to see if they can find common grounds on how to raise this child who was born out of teens, because my mom was only 15 and my dad was 16. But unfortunately, they couldn't find common ground. There were disagreements, and the situation became so unpleasant that my mother's family dropped me by my father's house, left, and mom never returned again. I was only 11 years old when I got to meet my mom. It was in a secret location. I remember very well, it was in the primary school that I went to, because it was a taboo to speak about my mom at home. Every time I raised the concerns or the issues, or I would just ask questions about my mom, they would tell me that your mom came here with the uncles because they were police. They started firing shots, and they were telling us how poor we are, how we cannot take care of their daughter. It was very unpleasant, and I decided, as even though I was a child, I could see that, okay, this is tense. It's not good for me. It's not good for everyone's emotions, and I just decided to let it go. But it was so painful, because I only got to really know that actually my mom is not around me. My grandmother is not my mom. At some point, they said my aunt is my mom, but when you are playing outside with the other neighbors, I mean with the other kids, you'd hear the neighbors asking, "Who is that child?" And they're like, "Oh, was that child was abandoned by the mother." That is so painful to hear as a child. I started questioning my identity. I started questioning if I am acceptable, if actually what's happening with my life, and I could not even get answers from my own family. It was then that I got to meet my mom at the school where I was going. I couldn't even ask much questions. I was a child then, and I was just happy to see my mother. What was more painful about my upbringing is the emotional abuse that I experienced from, let me say, the community. I don't want to take away the grace of being raised by my grandmother. My grandmother did the best she could. She gave me the best out of life. But the emotional abuse that was going on every time you are playing out there, and you see when you start growing up, you walk or you laugh a certain way, they go like, yeah, utlatimile we, fanani makwawe. Those things can be so paralyzing. And as a parent, it helped me to notice that it is very important to see who your child hang around with, even those adults that we sometimes leave our kids with to care for them. Adults can be so bitter that they can even speak bitter words or paralyzing words to your kids, that they end up losing confidence or questioning their own their own identity. And that is what I experienced. I felt like I have to change everything about myself. I should walk a certain way, laugh a certain way. I shouldn't laugh so wild or so loud, because they'll end up saying, yeah, you see, you are just like your mother. But the best thing that happened to me, in every situation that we go to in life, there is beauty to our ashes. It's being raised by my grandmother. My grandmother loved me so much. She adored me. And the most beautiful thing that ever happened is being raised by a praying woman. We didn't have so much. For as long as a child can remember, my grandfather was sick since, and it means there was no breadwinner at home. But we were raised with so much love. We were raised with prayer. I saw my grandmother's faith taking my aunties and even my dad to school, to where we are today. We lived by offerings and the community giving to us, since my grandmother was a pastor in the local church. And that is the best thing that happened in my life. Throughout all those things, I still stand today and say, if it had not been for the Lord by my side, and I still believe that God orchestrated my steps. It happened the way it happened, so that I can be raised by my grandmother, so that I can be a woman who is so rooted in Christ like I am now. But as a child, I thought like a child. I felt like life was unfair on me. I looked at my cousins and I felt like, oh, they've got nice hairstyles. You know, when you're growing up, they are wearing colorful clothes, and my grandmother gave me basics. She would cut my hair so that in the morning we do not have problems while you need to comb your hair, you cry, and then you are late. The skirt was this long. She gave me the basics of life, and I appreciated that. But as a child, I thought it's because I don't have my mom. When they corrected me, it was always because, okay, it's because my mom is not here. It made me emotional. I was always in tears. But the reality is, even if it was my mom, if there was a correction to be made, she will definitely have to reprimand me, or, sorry, give me a punishment where it's due. And when I thought it could not get any worse, I left home at the age of 17. I started working at the age of 15. I remember my first job was at Quick Spa. I worked there as a cashier. I failed my matric, and after that I started working from one restaurant to the other. My first restaurant experience was at Spur, where I worked there for so many years. I came to Joburg at the age of 19 when I had saved up a little bit to take myself to school. That's when then I came to Joburg. One might ask himself or herself, where was everyone else? Where are the parents? Where are the aunties and all the other families members? But I realized that sometimes God removes everyone around you so that the day you find success, nobody takes the glory but Him. It was then that life was not easy, even though I'm trying to really fill you in so that I just don't broaden without depth. Life was not easy. I went through the most in life, and every time I look back, I always thought that is how the devil operates. He always uses the past to tell us why we cannot proceed and live a better future. I always thought, if maybe I was raised a certain way, because life always seems greener on the other side. We always think if we were born in a certain family, if we were born from certain parents. And that is how I went on with life, thinking that if I was born in a certain family, if my parents were there and so on, it created bitterness. And one thing that I've realized is that nothing grows in bitterness. I would be so emotional about everything. I remember when I was fired at Spay. Remember, I was not working just to buy myself some shoes and do my hairstyle. It was my own survival. I was working to survive, to take it every day as it comes. And then I was fired. It means I had no reference for all the years that I've worked there, because if you're fired, then you cannot write those people as a reference. They will say everything that you have done that was not so good. And I sat down and go like, kazi madoda kwenzakalani, like life was so hectic. I remember this other day coming back from school. I was attending in Parktown and I was doing evening classes, and I had to jump out of a burning train. The train started idling and taking out spikes, and all of a sudden everyone was rushing to the windows, and I had to walk from Jablani Mall. I was renting a back room in Mapetla. I had to walk from Jablani to Mapetla, midnight. I got into my back room and I just said, God, what's happening in my life? How is it possible that I can go, it's like out of the frying pan to the fire? I thought my life as I grow up, it will become better. It was at the age of 22 that I realized that this can't be it. Something is not right with my life. It's either I am bitter or I'm holding on to something, and nothing can grow in bitterness. I had to let go of some things. I had to forgive. I had to start afresh. It cannot be physically so that we go back to the past and start afresh, but we can make changes today and live a better future going forward. It was then, I think I was around 22, when I decided to forgive Triumph, because forgiveness is not about others. True forgiveness and healing can only begin within. We deserve the same forgiveness that we give others so freely. And I decided that I need healing. I need to forgive Triumph. Beside what had happened to me that was out of my control, I had gone on in life and made bad decisions, giving myself to dating while I was young and engaging in sexual relations, and all those things added to the hurt that I was carrying. And I had to forgive Triumph. And most important, I had to forgive my parents in order to move on in life. I feel like, or I think it is more cheaper to forgive than to live a long life with burdens and grudges. Sometimes we are holding on to grudges and hate on people who have long moved on with their lives, and sometimes they don't even see the need for reconciliation. And here we are putting our lives on hold because we are not forgiving. Our testimonies are birthed from our trials. There is no triumph without trials. There is no victory without experiencing some space in your life or some period in your life where you felt like a victim of circumstances, it is how we deal with that period of our lives that actually certifies us as victorious. And I realized that I need to make peace with my parents. The thing is that the Bible does not give us an option on honoring our parents. They're like gods on earth because it says that you should honor your parents so that you can have a long life. I believe that anyone who can give you a long life, that person needs to be worshipped. That person becomes like a god to you. And I decided that, you know what? For the first time, it was not really the first time, I wanted to make peace with my parents. I wanted to make peace with my mom. I wanted to make peace with my dad. I've realized that forgiveness is like setting a prisoner free, only to realize that the prisoner was you. The the freedom that you experience, the peace that you experience, I reiterate, nothing grows in bitterness. From that moment on, because I was at ease with myself, I was at ease with life, I started seeing things happening in my life, doors that were standing before me shut for long. When I have decided to forgive and let go of the past and actually take the purpose in the pain and find the faith and the courage to forgive, it's when I realized that life is much lighter, it's much easier when we do not carry the burdens of who wronged us. The reality is someone will wrong us. The reality is as we go on with life, those are not the only people who've hurt me. So many things are still going to hurt me. I'm still going to hurt my own children. But the true test of love is not when the children are still young and have not wronged you. It's when they have grown up and they make bad decisions, they speak back on you. But that is where the test of love really lies. And after those circumstances, then we can say that we have actually stand the test. And I've realized as well, this is something important as I close down, that forgiveness is about self-love. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free and removing a stumbling block to your success. This is a message to everyone out there who has been hurt by their parents. I am not taking away from the pain. I am not taking away from what it means to you or where you think you would be in life. But forgiveness is self-love. Forgiveness is about you, regardless of who wronged you. And the minute you find the peace in forgiving, you start realizing closed doors being open just before you. This Mother's Day, it is never late to send that text. It might not have been on Sunday as it was supposed to be, but it is never too late to show a gesture of love. It is never too late to say to someone, I am sorry. It does not matter who was wrong. Forgiveness is for peace. Forgiveness is for the purpose ahead of you. I hope that this message will encourage someone there, and for both parents and children to find common ground and to realize that life can be too short if we live it in bitterness. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. It's Triumph TV on YouTube, and love you all. Thank you so much. I am Triumph Mbiba.